how do you guys actually break down these sorts of issues and sort of start taking action? What's the mindset, or what's the thought pattern when you go into a process like this? When you see something in the business that the result isn't what we want, and you go all the way back to the source and start breaking that down into action steps?
What I always do is I break things down into numbers. So we know precisely what our no-show rate is. I think at our very worst week, it was 41%. But what broke down that 41%, right? So we know that on top of that, we had 20% of people who are bad fits. We know on top of that, there was 10% of people who canceled their calls. And what we do is we effectively make all of these changes inside of the business, and we see what impact that has on a week-to-week basis. And, if we're able to track that, we kind of see that, hey, the no-shows went down to 35%. And this is what we do in our weekly Monday morning team meeting. We get out the numbers, the team reviews it, and then I say, okay, well, we got down to 35%. I want to keep on, what we did last week seemingly worked. Let's double down a little bit further and keep working on the brand and, building it. And it's what I like to call brand equity, because brand isn't like you have brand or you don't. It's something that you're continuously building on throughout the duration of your program. So, for us, one of the big things that we've done during this time is we've brought on a branding specialist, a full-time staff member whose sole job is just effectively to be creating content, sending out emails, writing posts, creating infographics, and making sure that our message is being communicated extremely, extremely clearly. So basically, it's a numbers game. If you understand the numbers of your business, you're able to make changes that impact it, see results, and repeat.
This has been a huge thing. I've noticed this change in the business since you started the dashboarding. So dashboard effectively is where you have a spreadsheet that kind of maps out every single layer. It talks about ad spend, cost per lead, and, it's got cost per conversation, cost per booking, cost per show up, cost per sale. And because every single step of that and the way that G or Iggy do that in their businesses, what it means is that at any one week, they can analyze not just based on that particular week itself, but they can look at the past and they can make a decision based on that analysis. Well, we get an idea of sort of averages and what they usually should be. So we were able to, diagnose that the no-show rate is going up. But if you get to a point where in any one week you can see that something's actually started to change, it has made it easier to sort of start isolating the variables. And it's had a really positive impact. That is something I know that is a part of the mastermind, right? Is that you actually teach the members how they can diagnose and sort of break down problems through the numbers as well, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And, those are my sessions that I do, my group sessions that I do with most of our members. It's the one-on-ones that we book in. Well, how do the numbers that you've got impact the business? Because a lot of the time people have the fact that they've got no shows and they'll go, oh, the system isn't working, right? No, the system's identical for every single person who's in the program. The difference between people who have high no-show rates and low show rates is the branding.
And that's where I think our process is very similar, AJ, as far as like diagnosing those problems. The most important thing is having one variable that you're manipulating at a time. And this is the biggest problem that a lot of clients run into. They're trying to make so many changes at the same time. They have no idea what's actually working. Whereas like, if you know your numbers and you're like, okay, well, even if you're just learning how to diagnose these issues and learning how to analyze these numbers for the first time, if you focus on just manipulating one variable, then if there was a change, right, the following week, and you look at your numbers like, well, this was the only thing that I changed, right? All right, let me continue with this the next week and see if there's a pattern, right? Did this have this kind of impact on the business? I changed this, and then these were the numbers. All right, so let me just leave everything the same, right? That variable that I changed last week, let's move it into this week and see if it has the same kind of positive impact. When you start focusing on really addressing one thing at a time, then you can start to see the cause and effect of the thing that you're manipulating, right? Whereas a lot of people make an amateur mistake of trying to fix everything at the same time. And then even if it does work, you have no idea why it works or what caused it to work or what you can do to replicate it. So when you run into a different kind of problem, you're trying to change everything as well. And then you're like, well, I can't figure out why this isn't working anymore.